All right, well, welcome to part 3 of this 3-part video series on handling Scrum teams that are across multiple time zones and what you can do about it. I mentioned this in the part 2 video, but I'll stop and pause for effect. Just don't do this. Don't build teams that are spread across multiple time zones. And if you have them already built over multiple time zones, I would aim to be reforming those teams long term to be more geographically and time zone co-located. It'll reduce a lot of barriers you have to communication, and then you won't need to worry about any of the tips we're giving you in these videos at all. But assuming that's where you're at now and that's where you have to be, we do yet have a few more tips for you. Greg, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, along the lines of don't do it if you can afford not to do it, we still have to address the fact when it's too late. You've already got teams that are split amongst time zones. They are not co-located time zone anyway. So now what? And we're going to have to do some unfortunately difficult work of rethinking what our team structures ought to be and where they ought to be. So what does it look like to reform or maybe begin to do some decoupling of some of these teams to bring more time zone related effort together? So there's a time and a place. I think we would want to start with the most critical products and try to bring people into a more co-located time zone effort, because now we can triage, we can actually be part of that effort and get things done in a common effort. If you have something that's more in maintenance mode, maybe you've inherited a product that has been around for a while, it's still maybe critical and all that, but it's something that you could have some of your team babysit the maintenance part of it, and they're slow at updates. You can afford to have teams maybe that are split across time zones. I might suggest you may not use the full power of Scrum, though, in those situations. You may be more beneficial using something that's more Kanban type of related, where flow metrics are your key. But you still can benefit from continuous learning from doing things like retrospectives and other things that help your just help you get better as team members. So you got to think about reforming those teams if you're going to survive this in the long run, I think.
Definitely. And here's an expensive option. I have seen it executed before when a team wanted to build some, mega super A team. The best of the best are going to be on the same Scrum team. And they brought people from all over the world to work together for a few weeks. I mean, I think we had like New York represented, India, someone from Australia. They're all in the same room. And we were setting this all up, deciding when we're going to have all these different events, laughing about how the overlap was just impossible because one guy is going to have to be up till 2 a.m. for sprint reviews. They were an elite team doing a really, really important project. So they agreed to deal with this pain for a little while. But I think the benefit here is you bring people together and they get to work together. They get to know each other for a while. It makes the remote stuff not as bad. When I'm working remote and there's just this nameless, faceless person behind a Slack message, and you can end up dehumanizing them. You can end up just thinking, oh, they're just like basically a robot, something behind a chat window. When no, there's a real person over there with real feelings, real thoughts, real experience and all that. And it's easy to overlook that. So I'd strongly recommend, if you can, bring your people together, have them work together for periods of time. It helps with sort of building the relationship glue that all these other tips and tricks are in a lot of ways built on.
That's fair. This goes really tightly coupled with what you just mentioned, but the idea of cultural issues that just are natural as a part of having multiple time zones, different countries, different languages. If we have some blended opportunities, so we go visit them, they come visit us, figure that out. If you're a larger company, typically you are probably already doing this in some measure or another with like your leaders and managers. But it's important for the people who are doing the work together to be able to have that face-to-face as well. We get to learn something about each other. What is driving our culture? You could be amazed as to what we can learn. So if it can't be done in real time, like physical on the dirt in somebody else's country or landscape, how can you encourage cultural development? Cross-cultural development. I think that's going to be really, really helpful. Seek it out, search it out. I know there's people that this is their expertise. This is what they do. They help with building these blended cultural environments. So invest in that. I think you'll find that to be a huge benefit.
We've got a few other interesting tips. I'm going to skip ahead to one. Like I mentioned this in the last video, sharing the pain of the off-hours work. Don't make it all about Johnny in Australia and Johnny always has to work the crazy hours, because maybe Johnny wants a life too. Maybe Johnny has a family that Johnny can never see again. But share that pain. I mean, we're all in this together if we're on a team. There might be weeks where it makes sense for one of you to take the bad hours and somebody else gets to have a life and vacations and all that, and then rotate that back again. So, yeah, spread that pain around if it has to be pain at all. It might also help incentivize you to come up with better ways to manage the pain. If it's all one person's problem, then it just becomes very easy to ignore because it's like, well, it's never my problem. It's always Greg's problem. If Greg needs to, he'll come up with a solution. But get involved, share that pain, and hopefully you can find some ways to alleviate that pain of working in multiple time zones as a team.
Well, don't give up hope. You got this. Teams in multiple time zones isn't going away anytime soon. If anything, it's probably end up being a bigger problem before it becomes better. But that was our part 3. I think we've covered all of them, haven't we?
I think so.